spontaneously, I just want to say that Sharon, for me, is always able to articulate what I'm thinking about with
Woo!
clarity and kind of precision. And she's plenty heartfelt, but she also has a kind of Vajra mind that we talk about in Buddhism, a clarity of being able to articulate different Dharma points. So I had an idea, Sharon, for something for us to look into together, and then we can ramble a little bit. But this lately, a lot of particularly the younger Sangha members, are talking intensively about the role of the Buddhist teachings and practices in relation to society, in particular, social, economic, political forum, and calling that loosely engaged Buddhism, for lack of there may be a better word for it and a more contemporary word
Mm-hmm.
for it, as opposed to the tradition of pulling back from society, which you could argue was the Buddha's kind of take, pull back,
Uh-huh.
and develop a contemplative practice that is an internal practice or working within the Sangha only. So I'm just wondering if you've bumped into that dichotomy lately, how you're doing with it, if you have a perspective on it.
I certainly have bumped into it. I think I see things from a somewhat different angle, perhaps less of a dichotomy, I mean, here was the Buddha, even in a simple frame, where when he was working so largely within monastic Sangha of monks and nuns, and he made rules like they're not allowed to hoard food. They're not allowed to keep food overnight. Every single day they had to go out amongst the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they wouldn't eat. And they couldn't practice. They certainly couldn't survive. And so there was a kind of mutuality in the dynamic, because what they owed the people in turn was their virtue and their commitment and their not exploiting them in any way, and I just found that really fascinating, even just those simple
Mm-hmm.
interactions. And I understand the need. I mean, there's so much suffering and so much difficulty. I understand the need to forcefully engage, but I also think that takes so many different forms. Like Bell Hooks was a friend of mine, for example. And when I was working on Real Change, this book, which was basically about activists and people incorporating the principles of practice, whether they were formal meditators or not. Some of them were, some of them weren't. But those kind of principles, like self-respect and patience and things like that, in their manifestation. And I was talking to Belle, and Belle said something like, she was very, very, very precise with language. The only people I know more precise were like Buddhist scholars who were like so picky, and you think, really. But she was like that. She said, I don't really like the term social action, because
Mm-hmm.
for some people it might only imply marching and protesting. She said, what about art?
Mm-hmm.
And that became a really important teaching for me in interviewing people. I was starting to interview playwrights and, people who were presenting a vision of possibility to society, breaking down barriers in those ways. And so, and also just on the personal level, uh, if one's practice is genuine, is never just inner work. We're
Mm-hmm.
interacting. We live in an interconnected universe.